Jeffrey and Jessica don't even try. Jeffrey makes fun of people who go to the gym. Steroids! Gay! Narcissistic! But every time Jeffrey takes his shirt off, he feels bad when his eyes glance at his gynecomastia. Meanwhile, Jessica just scrolls on TikTok all day. She's the one leaving horny comments under all the guys' thirst traps. Yeah, that's terrible. If there's any Jessicas watching, definitely don't go to my Instagram. Both Jeffrey and Jessica peaked in high school, and it's all been down from there. Adonis and Anastasia are winners. Adonis is an entrepreneur, a leader of men, an athlete. Anastasia is a mother, and she's an amazing one. She has the best job ever. To get here, they both had to get consistent on their self-improvement journey. Adonis and Anastasia are so happy together. Jeffrey and Jessica hate them and call it privilege. Take a look at my physique for a second. Yesterday, I was meant to go to the gym and I didn't go. I woke up and I could tell I wasn't recovered, so I missed the workout. Technically, according to everyone's definition of consistency, I'm now at day 0 of going to the gym. The old definition of consistency is like streak thinking. It's going every single day and thinking that if you miss a day, you've relapsed, you've reset, and you're back on day 0. Have you ever just spent a second to question how stupid that is? Does it look like I'm at day 0 of going to the gym? No. That's stupid, and we need a new definition of consistency. So here's my idea of consistency that I'm pitching to the world, and hopefully we can finally update the stupid old definition to this new one. Consistency is not streak thinking. Consistency is volume over time. Volume over time just means how much have you done of that habit over the last month, over the last 6 months, over the last 5 years. Think about how much this new definition of consistency is so much better than the old one. The old one has fundamental flaws. As you can see here, it would say that I'm on day 0 when clearly I'm fucking not. Missing a day from the habits that you're building up isn't actually as terrible as it sounds. You don't reset back to 0 like most people think, especially when it comes to habits like nofap. When we change the definition of consistency to volume over time, suddenly it starts to feel way more reasonable. To be consistent, you just don't quit. I'm 28 years old, but I started weightlifting at 17. And when I was about 1 month into working out, I had some good music on. I was kind of like dancing. I had like a home gym, right? So I was kind of like dancing in between sets. And I was so happy and hopeful for the future. Like, you know, this is a hobby. It's fun. And it also makes me better. And as long as I don't quit, I'll build the 10 out of 10 aesthetic body that I really want. It'll help me with girls. It'll make me more confident. This habit right here, I never want to quit. And so I started to visualize myself in the future as like a grandpa, 70, 80 years old, still going to the gym. That is how I realized the truth about what consistency actually is. Consistency is not going every single day without missing a day. Consistency is not quitting over 5, 10, 25, 50 years. It's starting the habit today and still doing it when you're 50 years old. That's what consistency is. So that's like the new definition of consistency. Now let's just break down, okay, well, how do you actually like literally be consistent? But all you have to do is just track volume over a period of time, like let's say a month. Volume refers to just like how much did you do that thing. So let's say you want to start working out. How many days did you go to the gym last month? Let's say you were like procrastinating, you really don't like working out. You said you'd go like 5 days a week, but you actually only went like 4 times in the entire month. Well, then the next month, if you make that 8 times over the entire month, that's such a big jump, and you've just made so much more progress, you've just done so much more volume, and you've just shown that you've improved your consistency. There's people who are actually doing better this month than the month before, but they feel worse because they've set this like big goal to like never miss a day. Like let's say with nofap. Nofap's this thing where like basically you won't jack off to like porn anymore. And it is where the streak thinking came. Where if you've just jacked off, you're on day 0. Tomorrow you're on day 1, and if you complete the day without fapping, you're on day 2, day 3, whatever. And people will tell you like, oh yeah, once you get to like day 7, something special happens. Once you get to like day 50, you'll levitate. Once you get to like day 100, this happens. You're like, oh, you have to keep it going. Don't lose the streak, because if you relapse, if you jack off again, you go back to day 0. But that's not how it works. That's not what consistency means. NoFap actually doesn't work. Almost no one is successful at nofap. It's less fap that works. Less fap is like the wording I came up with years ago, thinking, okay, look, I can admit this to you, even though it's kind of embarrassing. I jacked off like basically every day when I was like a teenager for years. That was like an addiction. It is an addiction for so many people. Porn, video games, all these bad habits, right? If that's an addiction for me that I've been leveling up for years, well then of course it's gonna take me some time to get rid of it. I can't expect myself to hear about nofap, get onto it, and just suddenly quit this habit right away and get to day 90 and a day 120 or something. I'm gonna have to gradually reduce it. Just like I had to learn in the gym that when you start in the gym and you're weak and let's say you can only do the 20 kg barbell, well, it's gonna take you some time till you can do 3 plates on bench press. You can't come into the gym on your first day and just load up the 3 plates and just try it and then fail, then come back again tomorrow and fail, and come back again tomorrow and fail. What would you say to the guy who keeps trying a weight that's too heavy for him and failing? What would you say to him? You'd say, well, just lower the weights. Why are you making it so hard for yourself when you're doing something you're just not capable of? No offense. Instead of using the really, really heavy weight that you keep failing at, instead of saying that I'm never gonna fap again, which you keep failing at, instead of saying that I'm gonna go to the gym 6 times a week, which you keep failing at, why don't you just focus on progressing it? Don't put 3 plates on the barbell when you can barely even do 1. Start with 60 kg, then next week do 62.5 kg, then 65, level it up. Instead of saying, okay, I'm on no fap, I'm never gonna fap again. Last month, you fapped 30 times. So this month, if you fap 20 times, that's huge progress. You have to track your monthly volume, like how many times you did that habit, and just make progress in the right direction. This video is coming from my heart because it is one of the most asked questions that I get from people who are already on self-improvement. They tell me like, oh Hamza, I'm not consistent, what can I do? And every time someone asks me this question, which by the way is almost every day, I usually sit there for a minute and I'm almost embarrassed to tell them like, bro, by your definition, I'm not consistent as well. Your definition of consistency is like going every single day, not missing a day, and if you missed a day, you lost all the gains. That's not how it works. If you miss a day, you've lost all the gains. That's fucking stupid, isn't it? That's what people believe about nofap, about all these other habits. But when you think about it with the gym, with like a physical performance, now you're thinking, oh yeah, well that's clearly not how it works. If you miss a day from the gym, you don't lose all the gains, right? So this is why I started this video telling you like we need to have a new definition of consistency. You need to stop thinking that you need to be doing the habits every single day in a streak. Look, if you can be in a streak, like I'm on like 75 days streak of meditation. Okay, that's cool. That's something to like, show to your friends, 75 day streak, whatever. But that's not what causes the growth. The growth comes from starting the habit when you're young and still doing it like a few times a week, still when you're like 50 years old. If you are still meditating a few times a week, if you're still going to the gym a few times a week, when you're 50 years old, you have been consistent. It's not that you've never missed a day, because life fucking happens. And look, I am more extreme on self-improvement than almost everyone else that you've probably ever heard of. People make videos about me saying, oh yeah, don't listen to Hamza, he's so extreme, right? But I'm telling you right now, even I'm not so extreme to say that you need to be on a streak, and the moment that you've like reset the streak, you've lost all the fucking gains, because it's just not true. If that was true, I would be skinny today, right? I missed yesterday. Technically, I'm on day 0 of the gym. I should be fucking skinny. And so I really want you to think about this. I want you to feel your heart right now, why this means so much to me. Imagine that there's a young guy who's had a porn addiction this entire time and we want to help him. And imagine if he's been watching porn and masturbating every single day and he feels like shit. And imagine if we're helping him and he gets now to 3 days without porn and masturbation, he feels good. But since he's not perfect, he relapses on day 3. He resets the day. Imagine if some little fucking Jeffrey comes up to him now in front of us and says, oh, you just lost all the progress. You're back to day 0. You've just lost everything you just worked for. It's all reset now. We'd look at this fucking crab and be like, hey, shut the fuck up. That's not how it works. He just made progress. And if he's just went 3 days without watching porn, that's progress. Just because he's like watched porn today doesn't mean that he's back to day fucking 0, because he's watched less porn this week, this month than last month. Imagine me and you are helping a fat guy and he's like crying about how fat he is. He really wants to make progress. So we bring him into the gym with us. 2 days in, 3 days in, 4 days in, he's happy that he's been going so much. But now his body is so sore. So he texts us in the morning and says, oh, hey guys, I really don't want to come today. I'm so sore. Is it okay if we take an extra rest day? And you see my text to reply to him saying like, okay, yeah, fair enough actually, bro. You come 4 days in a row. That's all good. Imagine that same fucking Jeffrey, little crab, comes up and says, oh, he missed the workout. Well, you're on day 0 again. You've just lost all the gains. But that's not how it works. Do you see how inhumane this old way of thinking is? I want you now to just believe the new definition of consistency, volume over time, to destroy the old definition of consistency, which is the streak thinking. And every single time you see someone struggling and they tell you that, oh, I'm not being consistent, challenge their definition of consistency. We as a movement of people who are serious on self-improvement need to change the people's definition of consistency, because it is so fucking toxic and just inaccurate. Every time I have someone say to me like, oh, Hamza, I'm really struggling with consistency, it fucking hurts my heart, because I was struggling too. By the old definition, I was like thinking like, oh, I'm a piece of shit. Oh, I can only get to day 3 of nofap and I keep fucking up. I'm not making any progress. And I wish I could look at that 17-year-old version of me who's trying to get away from all these addictive things and say, bro, like, you're not a bad person. This is how the path is supposed to be. You're not just supposed to learn of like the new good habit or to stop doing the bad habit and just be perfect at it right away. Of course not. You're not going to walk into the gym and just be lifting the heaviest weights. So don't be upset that you get 2 days or 3 days into like nofap. Don't be upset that you get 3 days into a new diet and you end up like cheating on it. Don't be like crazy upset because you've literally just made progress. Don't think about it as like, oh, I'm back on day 0. Think about it as how much you've done the habit over the month. And look, when you think about the streak, what happens? When you reset back to day 0, whether you missed a workout or you cheated on your diet or you relapsed in nofap, what happens? You feel bad. And usually you really do loads more of it because you're on day 0 anyway, right? Imagine the guy who's on nofap, he goes back to day 0 and he's thinking, okay, well, I'm already on day 0. I may as well jack off like 2 more times. The fat person who eats a little bit of chocolate thinks, oh, well, I've already ruined the diet today, so I may as well eat as much as possible. And then tomorrow I'll start fresh. But you see how this is using the old definition of consistency. And these people, you can imagine, they make such shit progress because of this mindset. But with the new definition of consistency, which is volume over time, you might do some of the bad habits. And if that happens, just think of the new definition. It's about volume over the month. So when you ate that little bit of chocolate, enjoy it and think to yourself, okay, well, that's actually still quite a lot less than I would normally have. And I don't need to go and binge eat because it's not about, day 0 or not. It's just about how much you've had overall. And I don't want it to be a big number overall. So I'm just going to enjoy this little bit of chocolate and then just stick to the diet as usual. Do you see how this new definition of consistency even stops like binge eating and the fapathons that most people get into when they're fueled by shame, when they've like reset based on the old definition of consistency? I really want this video to do well and to spread as far as possible because people need to know this message. I spent years hating myself just based on like this stupid definition of consistency, and I wish someone just looked at me and said like, you're not a bad person for this, you're only human. You're making progress, you're trying, you're on the right direction. Of course you're gonna mess up every now and then, of course you're gonna cheat on the diet a bit, of course you are. Look, you wanna get to the point where you don't cheat on your diet at all, where you don't fap at all. Well, that might be in 10 years time. When you think about it, like what level would you need to be on to never cheat on your diet again? Well, probably maybe 10, 20 years from now, maybe even more. You do know some people who are like athletes when they're in their 30s and 40s. Even they cheat on their diet. So this idea that like, oh yeah, well, never do the bad habit, otherwise you reset to day 0. Well, isn't it just so fucked up? Did you really think that as like a teenager who's just been watching porn every day, that suddenly you're just literally never going to be doing the bad habit ever again? Because if you do, then it's back to day 0. Well, of course not. You need to have it in your mind like, bro, there's gonna be times that you do the bad habit. That doesn't mean that you've like reset all your progress. It's just about how much you've done it over the period of time. And if you stick to the good habit, like if you keep meditating till you're a grandpa, if you keep going to the gym, lifting some weights till you are literally a grandfather, that's consistency. And inside these decades of your life, there's gonna be seasons where, for example, you only went to the gym once a week, maybe even less than once a week because something crazy was happening. That's just life. But as long as you don't quit these habits, as long as you think to yourself, you know what? Weightlifting, like strength training, building muscle is so good for you. It's even healthy for you. That even when I'm 70 years old, I wanna be doing this, right? This is the, that memory I told you about. I called it grandpa gains. Like I wanna be a grandpa, 70 years old, 80 years old and still be kind of jacked and like fucking all the gilfs, right? Like I don't know about you guys, but I still want to be like, sexually active, strong, and being able to like run around and pick up my grandkids and everything when I'm old. And the same with meditation. So the idea is we've discovered these habits when we're young. Let's just never quit, but understand that through the ebbs and flows of life, of course, we're going to have some down periods, and that's absolutely fine. And this is coming from a guy who's seen as like one of the most extreme people on self-improvement. And I'm telling you, the world's definition of consistency is fucked up. I want want you to just take my definition of consistency because you will make more progress. It took me like 10 years to create my own definition of consistency. I had to go through fucking like years of turmoil, hating myself based on like the fucked up definition of consistency. And I've just given it to you in like this 20-minute video. So I really hope you can appreciate that. And I really wanted this message to get to you, for you to realize that you are far more consistent than you realize. Thank you for being here. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah. By the way, no pressure, but there's a few links underneath this video that you can check out if you want to have a look at my paid programs. When you trust me enough and you feel like my free content has already changed your life, you can have a look at those.